Guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to inspire a world where food makes us better. Guys, today is Thursday, and today we have problem solution episode. And in this episode, I'm not going to talk about a problem over a specific person, but more of a problem of almost all of my clients who come to me to improve their health, their body composition, their productivity, their performance, to manage some life conditions, some health condition, some gut health condition. So this problem, almost everyone has this problem. And the problem is eating what I like to call crappy carbohydrates, or those things like pasta, pizza, cookies, processed bread, and most of the bread in our supermarkets is processed. Drinking sugary drinks, those carbohydrates that are processed, made into flour or into liquid calories. Those are all processed carbohydrates, or I like to call them crappy carbohydrates, because they are very processed. They have close to non-nutritional value. They send your blood sugar high up, and that is very damaging to your arteries and your long-term heart health and your mood and your energy levels and inflammation levels and so many other things. So those are crappy carbohydrates. And a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, I'm okay, but I have this addiction. Like I can't stop eating bread, or I can't stop eating pasta, or I can't stop eating or drinking this coffee drinks, or I'm just like so into sweets. I can't stop eating desserts and sweets. I don't know what's wrong with me. A lot of people have this problem. They're like, or I'm doing so well the whole day, and then the night comes and it's like I'm starving for those carbs. I want to eat my pasta or pizza, or I want to eat my dessert. I want to eat something sweet. I don't know what's happening to me, but it's keep happening. I keep having these cravings for these carbohydrates, these sweets, or this pasta, or this bread, or pastries, whatever that might be. Guys, here is the thing. Here is the secret that you might not know yet. You crave crappy carbohydrates because you don't eat smart carbohydrates in advance, being proactive. What do I mean by that? And what do I mean by smart carbohydrates? Smart carbohydrates are those carbohydrates that come in a package of whole food. Those are your whole grains. And by the way, guys, when anything made into flour, it's not whole. Like if it says whole wheat noodles, there is nothing whole about that. You can't put something back if you already made it into flour. It's not whole. It has completely different effect on your metabolism. And sometimes you buy this like cereal and it says whole wheat or whole grain cereal, and then you have flakes there. Flakes are made out of very refined powder. And then it says, or we have these vitamins and minerals. Most of them are added. This is a fortified product. You're much better off eating whole grains that look whole, that were never made into flour. And then if you need to take a multivitamin, instead of eating some sugary cereal. Again, there's nothing whole about flour. You cannot put back together what was made into flour. So there is nothing whole again about that. So anyhow, where was I? Smart carbohydrates. Those are carbohydrates that come in a package of whole food. For example, you look at oats and they look like oats. So if it's made into oat flour and some cookie was made of it, then it's not whole anymore. Then we have beans, one of my favorite food ever when it comes to carbohydrate. Not just because it has the most amount of fiber and it's the slowest digested carbs, giving you energy and feeding your gut for so long. But also it's the highest in plant-based protein, and also in so many minerals and vitamins, things like folate that is so hard to get from a lot of other foods. So beans, sweet potatoes of all kinds. Then we have squashes and pumpkins and fruit. Fruit is kind of being demonized these days, but fruit is amazing. It has fiber. It has so much water per volume of food. It has vitamins and minerals and so many antioxidants. So fruit is amazing for you. So another kind of whole food carb or smart carb, right? So all these carbohydrates, they come in a whole full food package, and they are the best for you when it comes to health, your metabolism, your nutritional value of your meal plan. So these are the best foods. And the reason why I'm talking about them when I'm talking about carbs is because a lot of you guys, you crave those crappy carbohydrates at night because during the day you don't eat enough smart carbohydrates. So how much or how many carbs, smart carbs, do you need to eat per day to not feel those cravings and to satisfy the needs of your body? Well, for most of you guys, it will be about 150 grams, 100 to 150, depending on your size, on your activity levels. The more active you are mentally and physically, the more you need, but usually, unless you're a professional athlete, you don't need more ever than like around 120, probably golden middle. So 100, 150, and that includes fiber. So in reality, absorbable carbohydrate is going to be less. But again, unless you're professional athletes and you're super, super active, you don't need more than that. Or maybe you're a hardcore bodybuilder. Yeah, then you might need more. But for most of us, non-professional athletes, 150 is like the top range for those carbohydrates. And let's talk about foods, where and how much of carbohydrates certain food has those smart carbohydrates. So let's take oats that a lot of people like to have for breakfast, either overnight or cooked. So a cup of cooked oats will have 27 grams of carbs. And all of the foods I'm talking about today, they do not have any refined sugars or anything added. So it's just plain oats, 27 grams of carbs, and that with fiber. But we're just gonna go for total amount of 150 grams of carbohydrates. Then we have my favorite carbohydrate ever, beans. And here in front of me, I have a can of organic red kidney beans. Just water and beans. And for 1/3 of a can of these kidney beans, that is total weight 400 grams, we have 13 grams of carbohydrates. So 13 grams of carbohydrates. So again, beans are quite low in carbohydrates, and 5 of those are fiber. So beans. We have banana, one of the most loved fruit. Like everybody loves bananas, almost. So one banana, about 20 grams of carbohydrates. Then we have sweet potatoes that are also really, really amazing when it comes to fiber and nutrients like vitamin A, for example, and a lot of other nutrients. So one sweet potato on a medium side gonna have about 26 grams of carbohydrates. So again, banana about 20, we have 26 grams for sweet potato, we have 13 grams for 1/3 of can of beans, we have 27 grams for oats. You can Google actually, guys. For example, whatever, your grain you like, maybe quinoa or amaranth or maybe something else, whatever bean or grain or potato or fruit you like, just Google it, that amount of, let's say, strawberries, like how much carbs, or 100 grams or 3 ounces of strawberries, carbs, and the Google will give you the answer. And so I recommend for every one of your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some people like to have more carbs for lunch. Some people like to have more for dinner. But I recommend to kind of split it and eat maybe the most around your workouts. Also a great idea. But in general, 50 grams of carbs, right? So what can it look like? Let's say for breakfast, you decide to have some oats. So a cup of oats, 27 grams. And then you decide to have a banana, and that's gonna give you 47 grams of carbs, and maybe a few berries, and you hit your 50 grams. And in that, you're gonna have quite some fiber, probably close to like 8 grams or so grams of fiber, and you're gonna feel amazing, like you have a lot of energy, and this is long-lasting energy because it takes the body time to break down the fibers and whole food to get those carbohydrates, and that's why you get this energy lasting longer. Now let's take your lunch, for example. How do we hit 50 grams of carbohydrates here? Let's say you decided to go for beans. So about 200 grams of beans, gonna give you cooked beans, gonna give you about like 33 grams of carbohydrates, right? So what else can you have? Maybe you'll also have another piece of fruit, maybe another, I don't know, banana or mango, or maybe some berries, right? Maybe you decide to go, I don't know, for some whole grains in that meal. So again, Google the specific food, the amount, and it will give you the carbohydrates. But about 250 grams of your favorite whole carbohydrate source, like whole grains, so sweet potatoes, or maybe pumpkin and squashes. Maybe you also have some fruit for snack, and that's gonna give you your 50 grams of carbohydrates. And then for dinner, again, maybe you decide to go for sweet potato, and sweet potato is about 26 grams of carbohydrates. Maybe you decide to go for bigger sweet potato. Maybe there is also some pumpkin and squashes. And also, by the way, guys, even plain dairy without any added sweeteners or anything would have naturally occurring sugars. As I remember, I need to look it up. It's about maybe 6-7 grams of lactose or naturally occurring sugars, depending how also fermented they are, how like well and how long this specific product was fermented. But anyhow, so and here you go, you eat a normal amount of those smart carbohydrates, maybe oats and fruit for breakfast, maybe some whole grains or beans for lunch. Maybe you decide to even go for a piece of sourdough bread. You can also Google the exact amount of carbohydrates for that. And then for dinner, you eat sweet potatoes or pumpkins and squashes, and you have all these carbohydrates with all these nutrients and fiber, and you get all the carbohydrates you need to function for your brain and your muscles. And guess what, guys? You're not going to be craving your crappy carbohydrates anymore. As simple as that. You crave crappy carbohydrates because you don't eat smart carbohydrates in advance. And what happens is, like, you have nothing for breakfast, or you eat some crappy carbohydrates that don't have fiber and don't feed your gut bacteria. You have something weird for lunch that again have close to none of the carbohydrates, or again some crappy carbohydrates that will send your blood sugar spiking high and then falling low. And then for dinner, you again craving some crappy carbohydrates just because you don't eat smart carbohydrates. Again, if you start eating these smart carbohydrates with fiber, with nutrients that are going to feed you and your gut bacteria, that is also very important. You have many trillions of bacteria in your gut. If you don't feed them fiber, they're going to eat you. They're going to make you hungry, guys. That's why it's important to have these smart carbohydrates. not just because they give you, your brain and your muscles energy, but also because they're going to feed your gut bacteria with fiber. And when you eat your fiber, your smart carbohydrates, your nutrients, you're not going to crave all these crappy carbohydrates. I promise you. And that's it, guys, that's the problem solution episode. So what you want to understand, you don't want to avoid carbohydrates. You want to eat them to perform and function well, but you want to eat them from certain foods, from whole foods that besides all the nutrients also have sufficient amount of fiber to feed your gut microbiome that needs to be fed in order for you to not feel hungry and stay optimally healthy. And once you start eating all of these smart carbohydrates, you start eating and craving those crappy carbohydrates, pasta and pizza, and sweets and desserts much less. Believe me, guys, try it out this week to eat your carbohydrates from whole foods with a lot of fiber, and let me know how you do. And if you need more details about what kinds of foods you can include in your breakfast, in your lunch and dinner to hit your carbohydrate target, to hit your fiber target, please reach out on Instagram via email, angela@createyourself.today, or on Twitter also at 1000yearyoung. Reach out and I'll help you eat the exact amount of carbohydrates and fiber you need per day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So at dinner, you don't feel like you need to eat that dessert or that pasta dish. And that's it. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Share this episode with one other person, maybe with a friend of yours who swears they just can't live without those desserts and sugars and crappy carbohydrates. Share this with them and let them know why it's happening to them, because it's important for their health, their body composition, and their overall well-being. So share this episode, re-listen to, again, figure out what carbohydrates and in what amounts you can eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Reach out if you need advice. And as usual, guys, till next time, eat better daily and eat more smart carbohydrates today specifically.